Ladies and gentlemen of the rock and roll, punk, rock, hardcore, thrash, and heavy metal community, my name is Jason Evans, and this is the Great Metal Standoff, the podcast that hits music's greatest albums in track-by-track combat. Now, this battle. This one is something else. On a micro scale, it didn't take long for Black Sabbath to return to the arena, but on a larger scale, the Black Sabbath that we'll be talking about will be in celebration of one of heavy metal's godfathers, and perhaps one of the greatest singers of all time, Ronnie James Dio. But as many know, Dio is a well-travelled individual, so how do we celebrate this phenomenal talent? Well, I think I have the perfect opponent. Holy Diver. The album that Ronnie James Dio is probably most remembered for. So that begs the question, which Dio-led album rocks harder? Today, we will be pitting the Sabbath album Heaven and Hell, the 1980 album that injected a brand newfound life into the band following the firing of Ozzy Osbourne in 1979, and the shining beacon of hope that was Ronnie James Dio. And we're going to put that against his first solo release after leaving Black Sabbath, 1983's Holy Diver. When I brought this battle to my team at Mosh Pit on Sin to pitch, my Metal Hour co-host Imran jumped at the idea immediately. But we did need a third head in the debate. Joining Imran and I will be a die-hard Ronnie James Dio fan out in the local Melbourne music scene. His name is Daniel Cesarini, and he is the bass player for a local Melbourne band called Table and Chairs. Their music, for me to describe to you, is a bit tricky to define. So we'll ask Daniel about it, and all things Table and Chairs, and learn everything that they're about, and what kind of music they have out and available now. But before we do, as usual, here are the boundaries in how we work out a winner. Number 1. Every album battle will be contested in track-by-track format by our podcast panel. Each individual panelist will select a winner of each pairing. The winning track receives a point to the individual's tally score. Tracks on albums that go uncontested can receive a tally point if a podcast panelist awards it a gold star. Once the battle is over, the album with the highest tally score will receive 1 grand point for that album. If a panelist tally score results in a draw, both albums will receive half a grand point each. And of course, last but certainly not least, the album with the most grand points will be declared the winner. And with that, it is time to celebrate the greatness of Ronnie James Dio and somehow pick a winner between 2 masterpiece albums, Heaven and Hell and Holy Diver. And, even as I speak to you now, I have no idea how this result is going to go. We've had instances where we have had draws in the past. This specific battle is one where I'd be the least surprised if it ends up being the case. But let's see if we can find a winner. Roll the audio. So, Imran, welcome back to the Coliseum.
Oh, I'm glad to be back. I've been waiting for this one for a while.
You jumped for joy when I pitched this idea to you.
Oh yeah. I was so excited, and ever since then I've just been excited this is 2 of my favorite bands back from when I was 12. Just pure nostalgia.
A pure nostalgia trip for Imran here. Well, we did need a third person to join us in the debate, and we've decided to get a very talented bass player from a local Melbourne band by the name of Table and Chairs. His name is Daniel Cesarini. Daniel Cesarini, welcome to the Great Metal Standoff.
How's it going? Hey, hello.
You holding up well?
I'm doing all right, as well as, the average person is in such times.
Yeah, we're still stuck in isolation, aren't we? How have you been holding up?
Yep, it's not the best, but, we've got technology like Zoom that can keep us all together, I guess, which, helps. I'd love to be in rehearsal rooms practicing with other guys at the moment.
Tell me about it.
Unfortunately, that can't happen, but it won't be forever. So,
when was the last time you were in a studio practicing with the band?
man, I don't know. Might have even been a week before we went back into lockdown, I guess, or maybe even longer than that.
So
I actually can't recall. I'm starting to forget. That's that's the main.
The days are
thing,
blurring it all into one, aren't
The
they?
days are starting to blur. Definitely,
I definitely had that feeling on the second wave of lockdown. I was quite enjoying isolation for the first month, but after, maybe after 3 months of it, it's starting to blur into one. But hey, we got a incredible debate to talk about today. But before we do that, I do want to talk table and chairs a little bit. How long has this project been a thing?
I think the inception of the band might have even been before I was involved. I think it probably started with Dan, who plays guitar, and Joel, who sings. So I think those two probably started it off together. And then along came Pat on drums. And then I think they added Mark on keys. And then I was the last one to join on bass. And I reckon that was, I want to say the tail end of 2017, but it might be early 2018.
Yeah.
At least we've got at least 2 years under our belt minimum, but probably over 2 years.
And within those 2 years, you managed to release your first ever EP. And by the way, a couple of weeks ago on Mosh Pit on Sin, I did a Mosh Pit EP party night, which was just 2 hours of as much music as I could put. And on your EP, I played the song Unemployment. And Imran, when I let Imran know that you were coming on the show, he sent me the message of, bro, I was just thinking that bass in the song Unemployment sounds effing amazing.
Yeah. Oh, that's
word for word.
That's a very kind thing to say. That humbles me to hear that. But
got to recognize good bass playing when you can.
Yeah, thanks, man. But yeah, I'm happy to hear that Unemployment got some airtime as well. That's pretty cool.
I'm really interested because you told me before that you pretty much only listen to metal. What inspired you guys to? Yeah, well, metal seems to be your favorite.
Generally
what inspired you guys to take the direction of like more chilled out, like psychedelic pop, bluesy kind of stuff?
It was mostly a matter of, that's sort of, as I mentioned before, I was actually like the last to join. It was sort of a matter of, that's kind of what the guys had going already. And then I sort of just came in and I was just, for me, it was just a matter of like, how can I fit into this band that plays sort of, as you said, sort of mostly chilled out kind of alternative rock sort of stuff. And I just did whatever came naturally to me on the bass. So it was not so much a conscious decision for me to be like, wow, I don't want to do a metal project. I want to do something chilled out. It was just that's kind of what it already was. And when I sort of came on board to the project, I just sort of fit into that style.
Is that how you define the Table and Chairs sound, alternative rock, that kind of feel?
Yeah, that's probably the best way I could sort of define it, I guess. I'd say it's probably just like an alternative rock kind of thing.
Yeah, I get those vibes as well. It's I find you guys, from the sounds of it, you guys take a lot from like classic rock, like the Doors and like Pink Floyd in a sense, like those kind of bands.
Yeah.
Your singer really reminds me of Jim Morrison as well.
Okay, I'd say I agree with that, actually. I agree with that assessment. I think the guys take a lot of inspiration from Kieran J. Callanan as well, who's an Australian artist. They take a lot of... they're influenced by a variety of things as well. I'm trying to remember some of the other things that the guys listen to, but there's definitely a classic rock aspect to it as well, for sure.
Well then, as mentioned, they have an EP out, it's just by the name of Table and Chairs. 8 songs on it. 8 songs or 7? I can't quite remember.
I think there might be 7.
Okay,
well, there we go. Check.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm the guy who probably should have done their research and got the definitive number. So apologies, mate, for my professionalism.
I'm on the old man. I don't know the number. So,
So just from the numbers, just from the tracks that you do remember, do you have a favourite off that EP?
Definitely Fiend in the Teen.
Right.
It's
That
probably
was my favourite too.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear it because it's probably the one that no one comes up to me and says that was a good track. Everyone mentions, if they come up to me and compliment me on the album, they'll say Unemployment or here's Sweetest Thing on Burke Street, which is sort of the last song. It's a bit of a ballad. A lot of people really like those tracks, but for me, Fiend of Teen is the best song, and no one ever mentions that that's their favorite, but it's my favorite. So there you go.
Oh, well, now you've got someone else who said it's their favorite.
Yeah,
too.
I'm glad to hear it. Yeah.
I was just going to say, when I listened to Unemployment, because I've seen you guys live, when I heard Unemployment, I started thinking Happiest Days of Our Lives by Pink Floyd.
That's interesting.
That bass build-up that you have in that track,
yeah.
it reminded me.
Yeah.
So when I hear it, I think when we grew up and went to school, there were certain teachers.
Yeah, definitely. A big part of me getting into music in the first place was Pink Floyd and the album The Wall, which has those
What an album.
Happiest Days of Our Lives on that.
I've got a poster of that album somewhere up on my wall.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's an amazing album, especially considering how long ago it was made. It still sounds pretty good as well. So,
well, perhaps we could have him run a Daniel back for a Pink Floyd episode sometime down the line. But also,
sure.
we have Table Chairs, a self-titled EP available now, but you also have new music coming up, don't you, Daniel?
Yes. Yep, we do. There's a couple of promos on the Facebook page for a new single. It's called I Still Need You, and it is coming out on July the 30th.
Sweet.
Yeah, if you watch the promos, you get a little, I think you get like a 10-second preview of the song or something like that. So, yeah.
I must admit, the description of keep your eyes fat is something I've never heard used as a way of garnering attention, but there you go.
Yeah, I think that's Mark. I think that's Mark, the keyboard player. I think that's his
right.
His fret. I think.
Keep your eyes fat. I'm going to start using that for
Keep your eyes fat, yeah.
I've been thinking that too, Imran. Okay, well, now we've got the admin out of the way. It is time to put Heaven and Hell against Holy Diver on the Great Metal Standoff. This specific battle, guys, I've been conflicted for days on what the winners are going to be here.
Tell me about it.
No clue.
I still haven't decided.
I'm still struggling right now. Daniel, are you in the similar boat?
I absolutely have a concrete answer.
You have a concrete answer?
And it's not close.
Right, okay. Before you came with your concrete answer, at the beginning of the process, did you have an inkling or did you have a leaning to which album might have came up on top before you began? Blank slate.
Yeah, well, yeah, I did. Without saying what my choice is, pretty much when you presented the idea of the episode to me, I knew what I was going to pick straight away.
Okay.
I'm very intrigued now.
Yeah. All right. So Heaven and Hell. It was the first. We're celebrating Ronnie James Dio, phenomenal singer and one of the godfathers of heavy metal. This was the first album he did under the Black Sabbath. This was also their first album since Ozzy Osbourne got fired in 1979 after how would you call the final years of Ozzy Osbourne in Black Sabbath?
Interesting. Very interesting. I haven't listened to much of it, but from what I have heard, interesting.
Terrible. I would say.
Hot take.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm a huge Black Sabbath fan. I absolutely love them. Pretty much love all the eras of the band. But that late period with Ozzy Osbourne, Technical Ecstasy,
and Never Say Die.
No, I mean, look, it's pretty much just those two albums that I think are bad. I think Sabotage was great.
Sabotage is a good album.
And that's probably the last great Ozzy Osbourne album, which means that they only did two albums that I think are bad.
Yeah. Okay. I reckon there's a hidden gem or two on there, like Backstreet Kids or Johnny Blade. I reckon they're hidden gems.
Well, I can tell you that there is definitely, I will recognize a hidden gem on Technical Ecstasy, which is It's All Right, which is sung by Bill Ward. Yeah. So that's I'll admit that's a hidden gem. Definitely.
Yes. So as we know, Black Sabbath went through a little bit of a slump in the final years. Ozzy ended up getting fired. He went on to have a terrific solo career. But when it came to Sabbath in the 80s, they brought on Ronnie James Dio and they released Heaven and Hell, which was an injection of a brand new life into the band, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, there's a new sound for them, and it was just new for them. It's crazy.
Almost sounded like a whole new band in a way. And it was just totally, you're right. Breathed new life into the band for sure.
And of course, that stint did not last very long because it was a 2-year stint, wasn't it? They only did about 2 albums together, maybe a couple of live
They
stuff.
did 2 albums, Heaven and Hell and The Mob Rules. And yeah, after that, I think Dio left, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. But
yeah, he left.
Yeah, just did his own thing after that.
And boy, oh boy, what that new thing was. Yeah. So this was
insane.
This was his first album as a solo artist, Holy Diver, the opponent of Heaven and Hell tonight. And seriously, it is really tough to decide. It's going to be very tough to decide.
I'm with you, man. I'm just going to decide as I go along. I've given up.
Yeah. All right. Begrudgingly, because both of these are terrific, phenomenal masterpiece albums. Begrudgingly, the three of us are going to try and decide on a winner right now, and we have to do it in the traditional Great Metal Standoff way, and that is gesture over to our timekeeper in isolation, who is nodding, but I can't see his face. His hood's over his head, and it's a bit concerning. But anyway, timekeeper, ring the bell, please. All right, as always, we begin track 1 versus track 1. Neon Knights versus Stand Up and Shout. Already I'm conflicted. How about you guys?
Man, they're both great tracks. Stand Up and Shout. I'm going to start with that just now. Let me just say, the bass in that song, oh my God, it just hits you. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a sucker for a good bass line, and that song has a good bass line.
Look, Stand Up and Shout. It's a good track. In fact, I would even go and say it's a very good track, very good album opener, because it kicks you into gear. It's quick, but I think everything that's good about Stand Up and Shout is better in Neon Knights.
That was going to be my next point.
Is how? Explain how.
Well,
do you want to do the honors? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, you mentioned the bass in Stand Up and Shout. It's very good. It's good. But the bass in Neon Knights is absolutely fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Geezer Butler on bass for Black Sabbath.
Yep.
Just going crazy on that song. And overall, just the production, the sound, the guitar tone, Neon Knights just has it. I think Dio's performance is stronger on Neon Knights as well.
I think Neon Knights is like the perfect opener for this new age of Black Sabbath that they've brought in, because this has gone from Black Sabbath that fronted by Ozzy Osbourne, which was like a sludge like blues like doom metal band, to power metal, and they've just hit you in the face with it. And especially just like my favorite part of the song by far is the chorus, when it's just they just kick off into the soaring vocals, and it's just guitar, and Dio's just gone like it's that like big fucking scream. And sorry, I just swore there. Yeah, this song just gets me excited. I love this song so much. There's something about it that it just makes me want to run it. Like, just talking about it right now, I've got adrenaline pumping through me just thinking about it.
My view was that Neon Knights was more of that cruising opener, kind of like easing your way through into this whole new experience that is Dio-led Sabbath, where Stand Up and Shout was straight to the point and had that punchy kind of thing. And originally I was going to go Stand Up and Shout because Neon Knights was kind of like that cruising intro, and I kind of like the big punch in the face at the very beginning. And that's why I'm actually taking Dio.
Stand Up and Shout is I do really, that song has a great solo. I will admit that's like a face melting guitar solo in that, and there's some great vocal work in it. The one thing that puts me off is that the chorus, when he says stand up and shout, that it sounds really menacing. Kind of doesn't make me want to stand up and shout.
Right. Yeah.
I get a little bit scared when he sings that song. Not that it's not amazing; it's a great song, but
I love the irony.
Neon Knights just does it better.
I love the irony that both of these songs were the last songs written for the respective albums.
Really?
Yeah, that was one thing I found on the fun fact sheet.
Sense.
How so?
Yeah, I reckon it kind of makes sense because Neon Knights is this sort of, and Stand Up and Shout too. You know, they're both sort of like straightforward rock. You know, quick, fast paced. You know, just big rockin' open tracks. You know, opener tracks. And I feel like that's sort of, especially in Neon Knights case, kind of reminds me of Paranoid from the Black Sabbath
Yeah,
Paranoid album.
I can hear that.
And that song was the last song written for that album. Well, I think it was just written in the studio, like really sort of quickly.
Yeah, that was a song they didn't intend for that to be like on the album, wasn't it? And then they
I think it was kind of
as a single.
Yeah, they sort of just did it. I think they sort of just did it in the studio, maybe even to fill space on the album. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know it was.
I've heard the same thing.
Song. Yeah. And I feel like, it sort of makes sense that maybe Neon Knights was sort of the last one, and Stand Up and Shout. I guess it's a different band, but it could be a bit of a trend,
Right. So am I right in saying that both Daniel and Imran are giving their opening point to Heaven and Hell?
Yep.
Absolutely. Yep.
Interesting. Well,
Neon Knights too good.
Interesting. Stand Up and Shout, just from a pace and the fact that it grabbed me earlier than Neon Knights did, that's where my point lies. But I have flip-flopped in between both at some point before going on air. In the meantime, this one really, really bugs me. Children of the Sea versus Holy Diver. I still don't know what to pick between these two.
Oh, boy.
Any other song on Heaven and Hell, Holy Diver would have won hands down. Maybe with the exception to the title track, but Children of the Sea could probably feasibly take this song on.
There's something about Holy Diver that, as amazing of a song as Children of the Sea is, there's something about Holy Diver that I think what I think it is? It's the guitar solo in Holy Diver. That's what kicks it over the edge a little bit for me. I don't know, there's something about it. It's just the groove, especially the intro of it's just a minute long of just this weird keyboard synth stuff. Kind of sounds like a big red horror movie. Freaking love it. But yeah, it's got the groove to it. It's got the kick-ass riff, groovy as hell. It's just classic Dio vocals. It's just powerful. It's soaring, and that guitar solo just kicks it for me. I don't know. There's something about it.
So it sounded like it was a bit more of an easier choice for you, Imran. You're just going to take Holy Diver anyway.
Oh, no. No, that was definitely not an easy choice.
Foreshadowing.
Children of the Sea is an amazing song. It is. It's catchy. It's got everything. I love the intro at the start. Kind of sounds medieval with the acoustic guitar. It's got some nice bass at the start as well.
It is fantastic, that. And then when it cuts back to it around about 3 minutes in, it's heavenly.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. Especially at the end. I love the part where he's like, "Look out!" Dun-na, dun-na. That part's so good.
Iconic.
Yeah.
Iconic moment.
Or just the moment when it hits the chorus and that guitar riff hits, and then just Dio soaringly singing, "We're lost children of..." I'm not even going to try and do the impression, but "We're lost children of the sea." It's can you see my conundrum, Daniel?
I can see it. I can understand it. But I cannot claim to have faced it.
Really?
For me, this one was another no contest.
Gosh, how?
Well, I mean, do you know which one I'm going for?
Which one?
I really don't.
I'm going Children of the Sea is my preferred. And it's not close. I think Children of the Sea is an absolutely masterful track. Probably I would rank it amongst my top 10, if not my top 5 Black Sabbath songs of all time.
Wow.
So are you saying you don't like Holy Diver, the song?
I'm not saying I don't like Holy Diver. I'm just saying I like Children of the Sea infinitely more. To me, Children of the Sea it has a dynamic range that, it almost hadn't been seen in a Black Sabbath song to that point. Obviously, I mean, there's a couple that had sort of gone on, had that sort of dynamic range, but this was the one that did it the best up until that point for the band.
Right.
Acoustic guitars, sort of really intricate bass lines, then going into heavy riffs, soaring vocals from Dio, just some of the best production, best performances on any Black Sabbath song ever. I think the lyrics are iconic. I think everything about this song's iconic. And cast your minds back to 2013, maybe, when I first decided to listen to this album. Might even be 2012. Children of the Sea was the song where I'm like, yep, this is good. So, I'm very nostalgic for it and that. But not going to say that Holy Diver is a bad song, because that's just sacrilege. It's an absolutely iconic song.
Metal necessity.
An iconic riff, absolutely. Yeah. Anyone
You're a metal
who,
fan and you don't like Holy Diver, you're not a metal fan. Like,
That's a bit much.
it's that simple.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah. But I think if you're a classic old school metal fan, then you have to like Holy Diver, definitely.
Can I give Holy Diver one drawback? It's one drawback, and this is the one thing that really, this is what's conflicting me so much. Holy Diver, Dio's most iconic song. Not gonna lie, that atmospheric intro goes on for a bit too long.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll give you that.
It does.
I think that's its one drawback. I think I wrote down on the notes it goes for 1 minute 20 before the song starts. You could have gone
too long.
Yeah, it does.
You could have gone 20 seconds.
Oh, even less.
Even 10.
But the
I'll
thing
agree
is
with that. Yeah, it creates an atmosphere. It really, I think, sets up the song quite nicely. It does go for long, but
I didn't think
I think you can do it. I agree it created an atmosphere, but I think the atmosphere it created could have been established in 15 seconds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Rather than a minute.
Fair enough.
If I think of sort of synthesizers or keyboard intros to metal songs, I think Ozzy Osbourne, Mr. Crowley is a much better example of how to do that.
That's because that one's melodic. That's that
exactly. There's more
sets
melody
up the song more in a melodic sense. This kind of just creates more of a sense of atmosphere. And like, I guess not only for this song, but I think the intro they've got for Holy Diver here kind of sets up the atmosphere for the album, I reckon.
Okay.
Because it like whenever I listen to the intro to that song, I kind of imagine the picture on the front of the album cover of the big man, like kind of is being whipped or something, or is in chains or something, and just that scenery.
There's a priest drowning
orange
or something,
I love. By the way, just on a side note, I love the fact that when Dio gets asked about the imagery on that album, he says, "Well, why don't you think it's a priest killing a demon or whatever it was?" Because obviously the chains and the locked up priest is either. It's up to your own interpretation. It's either a demon killing a priest or a priest killing a demon. I love that.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I don't know. I think Holy Diver's taken this one for me. As
is it
terrible of a? Yeah, this is kind of like picking a favorite child. It's so hard, but
yeah,
I think let's go with Holy Diver on this one.
I can't say that that's not a fair choice, but I have to go with Children of the Sea. I have to stick up for the song that I think's a really, really like special song.
I said in the intro, we've had draws on the Great Metal Standoff before, and this battle I reckon is going to be so close that it would not surprise me that it ends in one. So that's what's conflicting me, because Holy Diver is Holy Diver. The Children of the Sea is definitely the best track on Heaven and Hell. Or at least in my view, it's top three.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely top three.
Listen, it's both of these tracks are the best on the album. Best on the album. Both of these tracks. I'm not taking away from either of them. Holy Diver's Holy Diver. I'm just gonna do it. I'm just taking Holy Diver.
Yes.
It pains me. It really pains me. But because
it hurts, but
this one hurts
it has to be done.
Not give a point to Children of the Sea, because I would give both songs a point if I was given the choice, but only one can get it. So that means 2-0 in favour of Holy Diver for me, 1-1 for Imran, and 2-0 in favour of Heaven and Hell for Daniel, our guest bass player for Tables and Chairs. Next up, Lady Evil versus Gypsy.
This one's an interesting one because these both for me are like, not that they're not great songs, but they're kind of the more forgettable songs on this album for me. And it just so happens that they're both in the same spot on the album. But they're both real funky, just real, like, they're just great bop songs. This one's a bit of a tough one, just because I kind of don't know what's the better of the two in terms of like, yeah, I don't know. This is another tough one. Help me out here.
I reckon this one, when I came to comparing these two tracks, I thought, you know what? This one's really well placed because they kind of serve the same role on their respective albums. They're kind of, the sort of fun, kind of just, casual rock songs on, each of the albums. And I've got to be honest, Gypsy's probably my least favorite song on Holy Diver.
Okay.
However, I will say that Lady Evil is probably my least favorite song on Heaven and Hell.
Interesting.
So,
That's my dilemma as well.
They're probably the two songs I care about the least.
Interesting.
So, to give my vote, I have given it to Lady Evil.
Ooh.
Purely, the what's given it the edge was Geezer Butler's performance on the bass, which I just think was fantastic.
Yes.
I can agree with that.
Bopping, I called it.
It's a very funky, yeah. It's real funky. It's catchy. It's good. I love Tony Iommi's guitarist when he uses the wah pedal in this.
Oh, he does use the wah pedal.
Gives it a bit of a Van Halen vibe in my opinion. This is one of the songs that I wrote down here. He really lets loose on this song in this guitar solo. Like it makes it hard to believe that he like is missing a finger, because he really I feel like he really lets loose on this. Whereas with Gypsy, I don't know, there's something about it that isn't as catching. Like it's one of those songs that reminds me of a summer night driving like in a car. I don't know, like some teen movie or something, but there's something about it that isn't, I don't know, doesn't hit as much as Lady Evil. So I think I'm gonna have to give my point to Lady Evil as well.
Interesting.
I reckon it's actually it's almost a matter of production. Like the overall sound of Heaven and Hell, in my opinion, is a much fuller sound, which I think is strange since Holy Diver was a later album. But I think that's probably down to Iommi's influence as well. And Martin Birch, who produced a lot of Iron Maiden albums, was a producer for Heaven and Hell.
Was
so
he?
And I feel like he's was pretty good at his job, and I feel like he gave Lady Evil something, and all the tracks, something that gives them a really full, clean, but still, classic heavy metal sound. And Lady Evil's no exception. Whereas Gypsy almost sounds like before. It almost doesn't sound like a 1980s era track. It almost sounds like it would fit more in the Rainbow era of Ronnie James Dio.
Do you know what Dio described this song as? If you go on Spotify, there's a version of Holy Diver where there's an entire list of an interview with Dio, and it's split over 10 parts.
Yeah, I saw that.
In one of the points where he's talking about Gypsy, he described it as Stones-ish. So I'm guessing Rolling Stones style sounding.
Oh, okay.
I'm guessing, but hear that?
Kinda.
Not really. Maybe a little bit. Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Not particularly, but I don't know. Yeah, maybe that was his idea of his take on a Stones song, because I mean the Dio band and the Stones are two very different bands. Like one of them is more rooted in blues, and so maybe it was just his take on that kind of sound, or I don't know.
This is just my opinion, but personally, now that Dio has since passed away over 10 years ago, if there was ever like a Dio tribute concert, I would love to hear Brian Johnson sing Gypsy, because that sounded like something right up AC/DC's alley as well. I don't know about you. I just got that feeling from it, at least vocally.
I could hear that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I reckon that, maybe it'd work. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I'm not sure. I feel like, I don't know. Anyone who tries to cover a Dio song, be it Rainbow.
That's
pretty much.
Good luck to them.
It's hard. Good luck to them.
Yeah,
exactly.
Good luck to them. I'm taking Gypsy.
I'd never even attempt that.
Yeah. Or
Oh, yeah.
if you did, you'd do it within the vicinity of your own home where no one can hear you, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
sure.
Definitely. I'd have to be at least 50 kilometers away from society
Yeah.
just to be safe.
Very true.
And it would be very quietly.
Very true. As mentioned, I'm taking Gypsy, you know.
Why is that?
Why was that? Once again, I thought Lady Evil was a bit of a weaker song. Bopping, a nice classic rocker, very enjoyable solo, but I don't know, that something grabbed me about Gypsy, and it's one of those inexplainable ones. Maybe it was that whole thing of like, ooh, this sounds very like AC/DC style, but it's, I don't know, just got that
Interesting.
inkling, you know?
No, I respect that. It's a great song. There's no denying.
Yeah. Just before we move on, Daniel, you've been making some interesting points about production. It's actually gotten my interest perked a little bit. What makes a great production in an album?
Well, it's actually it's a subjective thing,
Yeah.
really. But I think in the case of these albums are from the early 1980s,
Yes.
long before any of us were even a thought.
Very true.
But it's from whenever I can only listen to music from this time retrospectively, but whenever I do hear it, I think the best ones of it are the ones that have a really sort of wide and full sound. The low end, the low end, so the bass and the lower notes of the guitar and stuff like that, kick drums, all sound really clear and stuff like that. I think that's the sound that suits this genre. I guess we could call it new wave of British heavy metal.
Yes.
I know Dio's not British, but I guess he's
No.
part of that classic metal sound or whatever. So I feel like that's the sound. That's the kind of production that suits those kind of albums the best. The ones that sound clear. And I think if you compare Heaven and Hell to Black Sabbath's previous album, Never Say Die, you'll pretty easily you'll see the comparison between a production that sort of sounds a bit thin. The overall sound, it's not as full of a sound. Moving on to Heaven and Hell sounds very full, like a wide spectrum of what's the word I'm looking for? Dynamics. So
Dynamics. Okay.
Heaven and Hell, seamlessly goes from acoustic guitar intros to heavy riffs, with ambient keyboards on the in the back and that. I just don't think Holy Diver. I don't think Holy Diver is a bad production. I just don't think it matches the heights of Heaven and Hell, or Mob Rules for that matter. I don't think it even sounds as good as Mob Rules.
Oh yeah, I personally like Mob Rules more than Heaven and Hell, but that's
a whole
just my opinion.
nother story.
That's a whole nother. This is for another day.
Yeah. Hey.
So that's I hope I've explained that as well as I can in terms of what I mean with production. And
you've given me some homework for after the show, so thank you very much for that. Next up.
But I should mention though, if I could just jump in, say like sometimes production that is sort of rough and thin, sometimes it does work and sometimes it is better. But I don't think for early 80s, classic metal stuff, I don't think that's the case. But a band like Bathory, for example, Swedish early black metal band, I want that, thin, rough around the edges. So that's, it's very subjective.
All right, as we pull into the business end of the first half, battle of the album title, Heaven and Hell, and Caught in the Middle.
This is the easiest pick, honestly, on the entire list here. You can't go up against Heaven and Hell and think you're gonna win. There's no way.
Caught in the Middle's still a fun song.
Caught in the Middle it's a great song. I reckon it's one of the best riffs on the Holy Diver album. It's a very it's like a classic power metal song. It's got all the what do you call it? All the nuances of just a Dio Holy Diver song. It's a great song. But yeah, no, there's no way you can compare any song on Holy Diver against Heaven and Hell and win. It doesn't happen.
No, Heaven and Hell is unbeatable.
So both of you are saying Heaven and Hell hands down.
Absolutely. Well,
yeah. Are
I'm
you
saying
telling me like?
yeah, yeah.
Sorry, go
I'm
on.
gonna I'm gonna say Heaven and Hell is definitely the winner, hands down. It's I think Children of the Sea is the best song on Heaven and Hell, the album, but the title track is kind of embodies what the whole era of Sabbath is all
Yeah.
about. That sound.
That opening though to Heaven and Hell, that opening riff, like every time that kicks in, that opening riff, it is the most hype thing that's ever existed in the entire world. It's just
Truly grand,
you listen
isn't
to
it?
that and immediately just that's just hype right there. Like
Also-
if I was lucky enough to ever see Heaven and Hell performed live by the original members, I would have died just on the spot.
Yeah.
Over dying of excitement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not even kidding. I
did manage to see Black Sabbath in 2015, and
I saw that too.
Yeah, someone in the crowd nearby definitely did shout out Heaven and Hell a few times, wanting to hear it. And I just nearly turned around and said, mate, Ozzy's he's not going to do that song. They're not going to play Heaven and Hell.
That'd be very interesting to hear Ozzy Osbourne try and cover this song.
I know. Yeah, it would be interesting. It would never happen, though.
Yeah.
Musically speaking on Heaven and Hell. Musically speaking on Heaven and Hell, I had that when I was just taking the notes to it. I also kind of just said Tony Iommi doesn't need to go so far overboard because Geezer can just lead the way because the way he holds it down is so good.
Yeah.
It's his best, Geezer Butler, it's his best performance ever on this track.
This is, this song
especially
is
the fast section at the end.
Yeah. This song is purely driven by rhythm.
Yeah.
This, like, as much as the vocals and the guitar is amazing on this song would be nothing without that rhythm section. And that rhythm section is perfect.
Well,
Caught in the Middle is an awesome song, though. It's actually one of my favorites from Holy Diver. Actually, I think Dio's fantastic on that track, and it's a great vocal melody on that song as well. Honestly, for me, Caught in the Middle actually could have beaten out maybe a couple of the tracks off Heaven and Hell.
Interesting.
But not the Heaven and Hell track, definitely not.
Yeah.
Do you know what I found really interesting in the fun facts section of this little bit of the podcast? I've apparently found out, you might need to confirm if I'm wrong here, but Caught in the Middle was also, the riff for Caught in the Middle was Vivian Campbell's, a song called Straight Through the Heart from Vivian Campbell's band Sweet Savage. So it's almost a riff that's transitioned from his original band into Dio. Still works quite well. Still a bopper.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
Not sure if that sways your opinion though, but we are all.
I've never heard Vivian Campbell's work outside of Dio and Def Leppard.
Yeah, me neither.
Neither had I, but I just looked up the song. Yeah, similar riffs.
Okay. Yeah.
Huh.
But good to know. We are in agreement here. I also went Heaven and Hell, the title track, and that has done some interesting things to the scores. For yourself, Daniel, it's 4-0, I might just say. It's 4-0 in favour of Heaven and Hell.
Yep.
Imran, you and I have very similar scores just in different leanings. Imran, you're 3-1 in favour of Heaven and Hell, and I'm 3-1 in Holy Diver.
Interesting.
Very interesting dynamic. Also, if we go into the future, I do have a poll up on our Mosh Pit on Sin Facebook page, facebook.com/Mosh Pit on Sin. I put a poll up during the week to see what you guys thought of which album would come out on top. Let's head over to the results from the future right now.
Welcome to the future, where it is full of shiny diamonds indeed. It is also the place where we put a poll up on the Mosh Pit Facebook page, Mosh Pit on Sin, over at facebook.com. We put a poll up, and now it is time to reveal what you, the listeners, thought of between Heaven and Hell and Holy Diver. And I can reveal that Holy Diver was your album of choice, with 56% of the vote outvoting Heaven and Hell with a result of 44%. Very interesting take from all you listeners at home. Thanks very much for taking part. Let's get back to the battle.
Once again, big thanks to everyone in the future for voting on that poll. Now we're in the second half of the Great Metal Standoff, Heaven and Hell versus Holy Diver. Wishing Well versus Don't Talk to Strangers.
This one was a bit of a tough one for me because I really like Wishing Well is a bit of a not a guilty pleasure, but it's one of the lesser known songs on this album that I really, really enjoy. I don't know. There's something about it. It reminds me of Rainbow back when they had Dio, kind of that era of Rainbow. It's just really boppy. It's catchy. I love the guitar solo. The kind of sounds like a Hendrix solo with I think he does like a reverse guitar effect on it. But yeah, that one's a bit of a bop. But my point's probably gonna have to go to Don't Talk to Strangers for this one. I don't know. It's too good. It's this big ballad. It's beautiful. There's different parts to it. It tells a story. I don't know.
Beautifully delivered parental advice, I called it. Don't talk to strangers.
Yeah.
I would have to say, Wishing Well is, I think, probably the most underrated track on Heaven and Hell.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah, and I think even though the vocal performance from Dio is one of his best in terms of like the backing vocals that he obviously did a few layers of backing vocals on it, and they just give so much more power to some of those vocal melodies on Wishing Well. And honestly, it's probably one of the best songs Black Sabbath has probably done, or maybe not one of the best, one of the most underrated, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
But for the first time in this debate, I'm gonna have to go with Holy Diver because Don't Talk to Strangers is a masterwork.
Oh yeah.
It is fantastic. Just Dio, just with an absolutely commanding performance on that song, and it's just to me, it's probably the highlight of the Holy Diver album. All the songs before it are almost just leading up to that moment. That quiet melodic intro, just with him singing, fantastic. It's just a real show of his ability.
I think it's also a very well put together song. It's like right from the beginning right to the end. There's different parts that just go so well together that make it just a really interesting song. Like the actual band coming in, they come in at a really weird time, so you don't expect it. And the riff is probably one of the most interesting sounding riffs I've ever heard. The vocals are a bit spooky, a bit menacing. Ripper of a guitar solo, and the part where all the band fades out and where it's just vocals, and then the entire band just comes back in with that really cool, like epic riff. It's an amazing song.
The way I've interpreted it was it's very melodic, it's very beautiful. Like, for example, the beginning, the opening vocal line, beautifully done, melodic. It kind of pulls you in. It's like this comforting feeling of being pulled in by this beauty, and then bang, the riff hits, and it's this visceral anger in your face, and it has like that. Would that be a valid dynamic?
Definitely.
Yeah, I never saw it that way, but I can really see that. I have like a visual experience of the song if there was like a video accompanying that, it would, I guess, that would be like the perfect thing to go along with it.
And then visually,
I would say,
also go ahead.
Yeah, go.
No, you go ahead. You're the guest.
I would say, Don't Talk to Strangers. For all its glory, actually, some of the dynamic shifts in the song remind me of some of the Black Sabbath Dio songs. I think that it almost has those kind of qualities to it, in a way. Actually, it kind of reminds me, in the beginning, it reminds me a bit of Catch the Rainbow from the first album.
From the first,
the first Ronnie James Dio Rainbow album with Richie Blackmore. However, I will say, if hypothetically we were talking about Mob Rules tonight, Sign of the Southern Cross is like Don't Talk to Strangers, but better, I reckon.
Right.
Sign of the Southern Cross is pretty much has that same dynamic flow as Don't Talk to Strangers. There's the quiet, intricate moments. There's the loud, heavy riff moments. I just think that's probably a better
Jason,
track.
I think I know what your next podcast is going to have to be. It's going to have to be Mob Rules versus The Last in Line.
The Last in Line? Duly noted.
Yeah.
That's Rainbow, correct?
Oh, no, Dio.
Dio?
That was
okay.
the next album he did after Holy Diver.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Duly
Or
noted.
you could do Rainbow Rising maybe. Rainbow
Okay.
Rising.
Oh,
Mob Rules. Yeah.
Rainbow Rising is also very good.
Yeah.
When I'll write that down. When we go ahead and do that, I'm bringing you two back in for this.
I mean,
sequel.
already.
Yeah, the sequel. We've spoken
Hell
a lot
yeah.
about Don't Talk to Strangers. I was originally going to go Wishing Well just because of the uplifting nature of it. And that chorus delivery, whenever you're a star, I've actually forgotten the lyrics. My apologies about that.
For somewhere you are, just where you are.
Yeah. The
Don't
metal
you
version
know
of
that
If You
I
Wish Upon a
might be
Star, doesn't matter who you are. The metal version.
That's yeah. That's I love that song so much. That's one of my favorite songs on the album, and it's a shame that it's one of the most underrated songs as well because it's there's something about it that just makes me want to groove every time. It's such a boppy song.
I don't call it underrated. When we were speaking about earlier in the podcast when Children of the Sea was the best, I said easily top 3. My top 3 is Children of the Sea, Heaven and Hell, Wishing Wells.
Oh yeah.
So that's why this one became a bit of a problem for me because I originally did give Wishing Well the point, but this conversation's actually swayed me. I'm very easily swayed here, but you've swayed me. Well done, guys. I'm going to give it to Don't Talk to Strangers.
There you go.
Gotta be.
That's
you can't. I don't think this one can be debated. I mean,
yeah.
I've gone against Holy Diver already, so I think I've got to. The metal gods won't forgive me for another blunder. I think. So.
But there's another sacrifice you might be making later on in the podcast, just heading towards the end. But that is then. This is now. We are all in agreement. Don't Talk to Strangers gets our point. Next up, Die Young versus Straight Through the Heart. Not the Sweet Savage song from Vivian Campbell, but the Dio song.
Yes. Die Young for me, I think is just one of the most nostalgic songs because that was my go-to Black Sabbath song back when I was 12 and 13. It's just it's the classic live fast, die young song. It's perfect in that sense because it's fast, it's energetic, it's very ominous. Dio's vocals in it are just the most powerful on the album, in my opinion. There's so much to it that I can explain that's just amazing. The bass, the bridge that slows right the hell down and adds a piano, which is really interesting and just becomes really nice and melodic, only to just hit you back in the face with that really scary, ominous feeling again, and then just go right back into the song. Die Young for me, I think, is easily gonna kind of a hard pick, to be honest, because Straight Through the Heart is also a great song.
I'd describe that one as a thumper.
Straight Through the Heart, yeah, it's got that sexy beat to it. It's got the it's just that, yeah, the thumper. That's the stamp beat. It's a bit bluesy, but it's so good.
My interpretation was Die Young is the dreamy sounding song, where Straight Through the Heart was the thumper. Definitely the Heaven in Heaven and Hell was Die Young, especially when Imran mentioned that little slowed down dreamy vibe. I kind of gave the connotation of heaven, which is why I would say the Heaven in Heaven and Hell. Feels like an ascension to heaven, that sort of period, Die Young. Would you agree, Daniel?
I would agree, actually, and I think that's a good assessment. But if Die Young, gives you the sense of being the heaven in Heaven and Hell, then it's a pretty cool way to go there. It's a pretty cool way to reach heaven.
Yeah.
Die Young, you could be right. It does have a there's a real melodic sensibility there. It's a real dare I say fantastical, magical element running through the sounds of the song. There's obviously great classic keyboard sound from Jeff Nichols, who I think was the keyboard player on Black Sabbath albums from this album all the way up until the late 90s reunion, I think.
Wow.
I think he was pretty much, I think he was the only constant member or only constant background member, I guess, going from this album onwards up until the Forbidden album in 1995. But his keyboard sound, and I think it's on this album, it's most on display in Die Young. I think it was actually a big part of Sabbath's sound post Ozzy Osbourne. I actually think it was a pretty. Yeah. It was actually pretty. It gets a bit overlooked, I reckon. But obviously, there's great vocals from Dio, excellent guitar work from Iommi. Actually, Die Young might actually be his best performance on the album. Tony Iommi.
Yeah. I could agree with that to an extent.
Yeah, but maybe from a technical perspective, I think it's probably might just be his best.
I think this entire album is like such a reboot for Tony Iommi, because going from Black Sabbath, where he's known for his slower like riffs and kind of simpler guitar solos, to something as explosive as this album is quite jarring, and just like for me, just really makes me realize that Tony Iommi is like actually such an amazing guitarist, and like some people just don't even know it.
Absolutely. But yes, I would say "Straight Through the Heart" is a great song with an awesome, really catchy vocal melody. I found like it was really so a very accessible track, and I really enjoyed it. But I don't know, Die Young is another one of those tracks that's just a little bit too. I'm just a bit too familiar with it. Like it's too close to my heart for me to go against it. So I'll be giving my vote to Die Young, definitely.
Same here.
Damn, I went straight with conflicted again, but straight through the heart. Conflicted again, but straight through the heart. You feel it deep inside when he delivers that line straight through the heart, and then the drums thump you. It thumps that point into you even harder.
I don't blame you for picking that song. It's a fantastic song. Yeah. I love it.
I didn't expect that it'd be 5-1 in favor of Holy Diver on my end of the spectrum, but great. It's a great surprise for me, but this does not discredit Heaven and Hell in any way, because that was a whale of a time to listen to as well. It's just very surprising. I reckon if there was some different orders here, a lot more Heaven and Hell songs would be getting a point from me. I can guarantee you that.
Well, same goes for me, vice versa. I guess I'm 5-1 in favor of Heaven and Hell, I suppose.
I think you are. Yes.
Yep.
What's my score? Am I I'm mixed up?
4-2.
4-2.
4-2.
Yeah, fair enough.
Let's see what that does to the scores from Walk Away versus Invisible. And I can say right out of the gate, I thought I'm going to just give my point right out of the gate. I thought it was going to be Invisible, but it's only because I didn't listen to Walk Away enough times before we went on air. Because when we did listen to Walk Away before we went on air, I'm like, no, this song's great. That's my point.
It's a fantastic song. I think I'm going to give my point to Walk Away as well, this one, because this one was a bit of a tough one for me as well, because Invisible for me is I think it's the most different song on the Holy Diver album. It's got the slow and like soulful intro, which like even the singing is like really different. He like Ronnie James Dio sounds really sad and just like it sounds really dark, but then just suddenly kicks in and becomes this really like super angsty teen song about moving away from home or something. And they're like, as well as the guitar solo on this song, Invisible is probably one of my favorites on the album. There's something about it that's just phrased really well. But I think, my point's going to have to go to Walk Away, because it's just, I think Dio like particularly shines a lot on this song in terms of his vocal performance. There's something about it. He's got like certain inflections and certain things that he does, and plus catchy as hell. This song is just it's a bop. It's Walk Away. That's my point.
Furthermore, Ronnie James Dio doesn't sound like a lyricist in Invisible. He sounds more like a narrator.
Yeah, I can see that.
I actually have to give my point to Invisible. I can't believe I'm the one holdout sticking up for Holy Diver all of a sudden. But I don't know. Walk Away was another one of my favorites that I've heard countless times. Always enjoyed it. That little Dio vocal inflection in Walk Away where there's a few like him and a few of his backing vocal tracks as well, just doing that. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
great stuff. Simple, but something that gets you in that rock and roll
Pleases the
state of
ears.
mind. It kind of makes me think. Of an arena, sort of, and just I almost feel like I'm hearing his voice echo out around this huge arena.
You
filled
mentioned
with heaps of
You mentioned
rock
arena.
fans.
I wrote in my notes, is this what inspired Guns N' Roses' sound?
Oh wow, there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. True.
But yeah, look,
I got more of a Van Halen vibe from this song, but
Ah,
I can hear the Guns N' Roses as well.
yeah. But yeah, look, I have to give it to Invisible just because I think that riff, the main riff in Invisible, I just think it's really clever the way Dio's vocals interlock with that riff. Sort of Dio's vocals take up some of the space in between. His vocals take up some of the space in between the riffs, and there's almost a bit of call and response kind of stuff. And I just think the way that whole song is structured and arranged is really clever. And really enjoyable. And I just think it's a great vocal line. And
Yep.
Walk Away is a song I'm more familiar with, but in preparation leading up to this, Invisible was probably the song I kept going back to the most on all of the Holy Diver album. So I'm gonna have to stick up for it.
Sure, understandably so. Heavy, it's chugging. Dio sounds like he's narrating a story. Plus, just from the intro, the synthy intro into the main riff, it just sounds like he's traveling through time in a wormhole to this scene. It's like, begin scene, let's tell this story. And it's very well done.
Yeah. Invisible, fantastic. Great track. I love it. But Walk Away is also a great track.
Yeah. Hence why Imran and I have given our point to Walk Away. And Imran, that means you and Daniel are both at 5-2 in favor of Heaven and Hell.
Ooh.
It's 5-2 on my side, but Holy Diver.
There you go.
Wow.
So I think we've got a foregone conclusion at this point. There's only 2 tracks remaining on Holy Diver, where there's only 1 on Heaven and Hell. So the Gold Star rule will kick in due to the uncontested track. But this next one, I've been conflicted on various songs all night. This one was a bit of a no contest for me. Lonely is the Word versus Rainbow in the Dark.
Well,
it's
a no contest for me too, but I don't think I'm going to be on your side.
I now that you said that, okay, I see where you're going here.
I think I'm the only one who's really tossing up between these two, because these two are just these are 2 of my favorite tracks off of both of these albums, and I can't seem to pick Rainbow in the Dark is such an iconic song. That's one of the classic Dio songs with the
Which, funny enough, Dio wanted to get rid of. He almost destroyed the tape for it.
Really?
He didn't like that song, apparently.
I don't know that.
They wanted to scratch that.
Well, I mean, the vocals in it are so amazing. It's it's such a killer solo, killer riff. That keyboard riff is so iconic, and
it hypes you up from the like that.
There's not much you can say about the song, because it really speaks for itself. That it's one of those songs that it's a hype song, and you gotta love it. But Lonely is the Word. That song really off of this entire album, this is the only song that really feels like a Black Sabbath song to me. This feels back to Master of Reality Sabbath,
the gritty,
with the bluesy,
slow brooding,
sort of slow, doomy.
It's a slow, doomy kind of it's got that super awesome emotional solo, a lot of octaves and stuff, the classic Iommi stuff. It's got someone go. I still need time to decide between these 2.
Well, I gotta say, my undisputed choice is Lonely is the World over Rainbow in the Dark. Definitely. I think Lonely is the World is just, you cannot finish an album in any better way than a big epic final song, with heaps of emotion and I think this, Lonely is the World, along with Heaven and Hell, the title track, I think is another, it's another one of those that really defined this era of Black Sabbath, this Ronnie James Dio era.
Right.
It's just so powerful. Just the performance of Dio himself, just everything about it. Like I don't know. I just it's got a brilliant structure to it. It just it literally is like the final chapter of a book. It wraps it all up, and I just think that's fantastic.
The climax in the movie, it ascends and ascends and ascends and ascends, and it pays off.
Exactly. It's that final moment that's the best. And look, Rainbow in the Dark, it's iconic. I can't help but just find it a little bit it's just a little bit cheesy, like a little bit it does seem a little silly in retrospect, which I get, is there's no metal band from the 1980s that doesn't have something that they did that people could look back on and find kind of funny. But for me, a Rainbow in the Dark is sort of that moment. But that doesn't mean I don't like it. I definitely think it's a great, iconic song. I find that keyboard sound to be a bit average, to be honest. It just, it doesn't have a lot of, that keyboard sound in Rainbow in the Dark doesn't have a lot of weight to it. Whereas, Die Young or the other tracks on the Black Sabbath Heaven and Hell have a great keyboard sound. And Lonely is the World is maybe just next to Die Young is the best example of that keyboard sound on Heaven and Hell. So I'm looking at two, production aspects, keyboard sounds, just overall structure. Lonely is the World just can't be beaten on it. Rainbow in the Dark is probably the more well-known song, but yeah, Lonely is the World has the win for me, definitely.
Compelling case, Daniel, but I'm still taking Rainbow in the Dark.
I thought I might have had you there. I might have brought you.
Hey, there are parts in Lonely is the Word that really sound like you could put it in a Clint Eastwood film. But no, sure. Rainbow in the Dark. Imran, what's your take? What's the point?
This is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my entire life. I'm not even kidding. I'm using the word literally as non-figuratively as possible. But I think I'm gonna have to go with Rainbow in the Dark.
Rainbow in the Dark.
I don't like it but I think I'm gonna have to.
Okay. It's official. Okay. Uncontested track, so now we just have to award it the seal of approval of Gold Star. Would you seek this song out again? Shame on the Night of Holy Diver, the final song of the battle.
Yes. Holy moly, what a song. Shame on the Night is probably my favorite song on Holy Diver.
Wow.
Okay.
Seriously. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
This song just every time I listen to this song, I imagine like the entire band on top of a mountain that's like got thunderstorms and dark clouds over the top of it.
I'm loving this imagery already.
Yeah, it's such a cool song. It's bluesy, it's slow, it's got like I don't know, there's like weird dissonant like chords and stuff. It's such an explosive chorus. And my favorite part by far is when those deep like Gregorian chant harmonies come in.
That's towards the end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
That part gets me every time. That just like really cements the imagery for me of like the band on a mountain, just really like they're like gods on top of a mountain, just commanding the entire world. And I would also like to add, right at the end, there's some laughing, like right in the last few seconds of this song. There's someone laughing. Kind of sounds like Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought that was really weird.
I doubt it is.
Yeah, I doubt it is too, but
yeah.
I'm like just saying it kind of sounds like Ozzy. I don't know. Yeah.
Your take, Daniel?
But yeah.
I gotta be honest, and I feel bad saying this now after hearing that.
Oh no.
That speech, but I gotta be honest, I would definitely not give this song a star. In fact, I think if Dio wanted to leave Rainbow in the Dark off the album, I think he should have turned his gaze towards Shame on the Night.
Wow. Okay.
I think this is the song that maybe feels a bit tacked on at the end. That probably, yeah.
God damn.
Yeah, and I agree that sort of that chant bit that you mentioned. I think that's pretty cool. You know, I like that part. You know, it's a pretty cool element. But honestly, I don't know. The song doesn't do much for me. It's sort of it's a little bit meandering, I think. But that's me personally. You know, so I don't. Yeah, this is. I think every time I listen to Holy Diver, I'll pretty much stop at Rainbow in the Dark. Gotta be honest. So yeah, no,
damn. This is the
no
first time
star,
I feel like I've been personally attacked.
No.
I'm kidding.
Imran, but based on the case you made, you've given it a star, haven't you?
100%, yes.
100%. Okay. So did I, but for a completely different reason, because I thought it sounded like the soundtrack of the spy film. At least in the beginning, the dun dun dun.
Oh, yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Mm.
And I liked the background. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say I could see that in a super mysterious kind of setting.
Right. And another thing, I really enjoyed the whole idea behind the songs. I heard Dio was saying it's kind of that night is that period of the day or the period of night. It's where all the dark thoughts start festering. So it's visualizing night, giving it like a human character personification, if you will, and shouting shame on you at it. And that I really like as imagery.
Yeah, that I feel like I to be honest, I wasn't particularly listening closely to the lyrics, as I was kind of like, I think with the music that kind of really helped the imagery for me. But now that you tell me that the song's kind of about that, it really helps the imagery of them on a mountain, kind of being godlike,
screaming at the night. Yeah,
exactly. That's pretty epic.
And with that, our analysis of these two superb albums is complete. Yeah. Time to give some grand points out there. Let's start with myself, and that was for me. I didn't expect this. I genuinely thought it'd be much closer, but I do believe it's just because some of my favorites went up against some all-time greats. It is 7-2 in favor of Holy Diver. So that's one grand one for me. Ooh. Daniel, 6-2 for Heaven and Hell.
Yeah, absolutely. Heaven and Hell, one of the best sounding albums of the bygone days. One of the best Black Sabbath albums, if you know, maybe the second best, just behind Master of Reality. I don't know, it just can't be beaten. Holy Diver is iconic, but Heaven and Hell's just it's got the win for me, fair and square, in my opinion.
Right. So now it's the decider, and that is Imran. It was a very close one for Imran, but I can confirm that his score was 5-4, with the winner being Heaven and Hell. Therefore, the winner of this classic Dio battle is Heaven and Hell.
Tough choice. Very, very tough choice, but I think Heaven and Hell was, that was the winner, and I agree with that.
This has been my favorite battle to date. I can say that.
I believe Ronnie James Dio's favorite album was Heaven and Hell as well. So if he could throw his hat into the debate, I believe he'd be all right with this.
Man, I would love to talk to Ronnie James Dio.
But seriously, Dio, complete and utter legend. He has made these two albums are just they're phenomenal. I am struggling to come up with the words just because these two are masterpiece albums. Don't worry about the victory and who won or who lost, but do let us know who you would have picked to win this. But seriously, be sure to give both of these albums a listen if you haven't already, because they are truly phenomenal as we begin to wrap up here. Great albums, aren't they?
Fantastic.
Amazing. Such a tough choice, but just amazing albums.
So once again, Imran, thanks for stepping into the Coliseum once again. We'll be seeing you again soon. And of course, Daniel, thank you very much for being our guest this evening on the Great Metal Standoff. Glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
As we wrap up, just a final big plug. Just tell us once again everything that you need to know about your band, Table and Chairs.
Table and Chairs, alternative rock bands, Melbourne. Come see us play when COVID is over. We've got an EP out, Table and Chairs EP. It's on Spotify. We've got a new single out, I Still Need You, coming out July 30th. Should be pretty cool.
Thanks for coming in.
Cheers, thanks.
You know what? I'm still questioning some picks. Maybe I should have just gone with Children of the Sea. But alas, we have decided that Heaven and Hell was the album where Ronnie James Dio rocked harder. This discussion was extremely fun to take part in. Got to learn some new things, and I was even assigned homework on air, and I graduated high school 3 years ago. A massive thanks once again goes out to Daniel Cesarini for joining myself and Imran for this battle. If throughout our chat, his band Table and Chairs has perked your interest, they currently have a self-titled EP available on Apple Music and Spotify. Plus, to stay up to date, give them a like at facebook.com/table.n.chairs, chairs spelt with 2 S's, where you will be the first to know about their upcoming single, I Still Need You, out on the 30th of July. And with that, another Great Metal Standoff is in the books. Who would have you picked between Heaven and Hell and Holy Diver? Got any battles we should try out and match in the future? Tell us at facebook.com/Metal Standoff Pod, and keep up to date with Sin's Metal Show Mosh Pit Thursday nights at 8 p.m, 90.7, DAB+, or your preferred device at syn.org.au, at facebook.com/moshpit on Sin. I've been Jason. Till next time, metal up your ass.